Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Autism Stories. I'm your host, Doug Bletcher, the founder of Autism Personal Coach. Autistic people are the true experts of the autistic experience, and Autism Stories is where we interview autistic people to learn from their stories, experiences, and get their insights. If you would like to be notified about each week's episode of Autism Stories, we suggest you subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform. We would also appreciate it if you could give us a positive rating and review, as it will help others to learn about autism stories. On today's episode, TR Sun joins us to discuss their new album, The Sunseeker, and how consciously stimming has made an impact on their life. We hope you enjoy today's conversation. TR Sun, thanks so much for joining me here on Autism Stories.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I'd love to start out by learning, where does your story in the autistic community begin?
I feel like there's more than one way to answer this question. Because, obviously you're autistic from birth, right? But I didn't know that I was autistic until I was 25-ish. And then even further past that, I didn't know what that meant. And also, I was given so many misdiagnoses, and none of them were taken back, really. The doctors were just like, oh, we don't know, it's one of these 10 things. So telling me that I'm autistic as diagnosis number 9 or 10 or whatever it was at that point really didn't mean anything until I met some other autistic people who also were able to explain it to me, because it's not even that I didn't meet other autistic people in my life until that point. It's that no one was capable or knew what to say to explain to me, someone who didn't understand what it meant to be autistic, really, how to help myself, And it wasn't until I stumbled across these people on the internet that I realized, oh, this is how I help make myself not feel so crazy all the time.
Now, you're a hip-hop artist and multi-genre producer, and you have a song that I love called Stimming. And in that song, you talked about how you have to stim for your health, among many other things. So in what ways has your life changed as a result of consciously stimming?
I think it's knowing that I can ward off, at least for a little while, whatever the issue is that's bothering me. If I decide that I'm going to make my stims more pronounced, I suppose, because everyone's going to do it at least to some degree, whether you're autistic or not. Everyone does it. And when autistic people are intentionally masking, especially, they're going to suppress them quite a bit, even though they're still probably happening. People will tap their toes inside of their shoes, things that you literally cannot even see, and no one would ever see, and that's the reason for it. But I feel, for me personally, at least, doing some of the more bigger physical motions they help me feel better. And it helps me deal with whatever is bothering me, at least emotionally and internally, even if it doesn't actually fix the situation. So it helps me manage places where and things and people that I probably otherwise could not.
Do you consider rapping to be a stim for you?
Yes and no, because the thing is that rap is, when it has the lyrical component, I don't think so. Maybe if I'm saying the same words, I'm rehearsing something, then yeah, because it's a repetitive thing at that point. So there's that point, and then there's also when I'm coming up with the melodies and rhythms and things like that. Hip hop is very much descended from scatting as a vocal art form, and all of those noises that people will make when they're scatting are very similar to how a lot of hip-hop artists will go about making their songs and writing their words and figuring out where they want to put their voice. And that feels very much like stimming to me, because I could do that over anything at any kind of time, really. I don't even fully need the song to make it happen.
KRS-One once said that rap's something you do, hip-hop is something you live. So, which makes me wonder if the culture of hip-hop has impacted your autistic experience in any ways.
Yes and no. Again, I have been playing music since I was like 7 years old that I started playing drums about then. I have like a pretty vast like musical experience and education in terms of what I do, how I make music, what I've learned to do that I just decided I don't want to. I think more for me personally, hip hop is just a way that I can package what I'm making currently in a way that other people will accept it. Because otherwise, there's too many things. Like by the time I was like 17, I think I could play like 6 or 7 instruments at least. I used to DJ. I produced all these other things. Like it functionally becomes too many things, and it's like disorienting almost to listen to when because if I don't know what I'm doing, if I don't know what I'm trying to sound like, it's impossible for a listener to properly perceive it.
Your new album, The Sunseeker, was just recently released. What do you want people to know about the album?
I mean, I think this is the best thing that I've made so far. I seem to have a more positive reaction, which is really, really good. Like, I don't know, being autistic, you frequently feel like othered by people and whatnot. So having hundreds or thousands of people, whatever the fuck number it is, really, of people that are like, I enjoy this. To whatever degree that may be, feels incredibly validated. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what to say about the album in like one little soundbite.
Trying to live in the present is something that's really important to me. I don't know how good I do at that, but it makes me think about a song on your album, Breathe Underwater. Now, you mentioned that the future is just dreams of another life I don't want to live anyway. Are there certain things you do to live in the present and not to focus on a future that may or may not happen?
Yes, like some of the things that I think are like stewing behaviors feel very like mindfulness, stay in the present thing. But like one of the things, like I said about rapping, that I think is really cool, where it makes it so like people will take in the message and they can like sometimes decipher a different meaning of it. Like that is two separate lines where like two separate thoughts almost. The future is just dreams of another. Like you have expectations set of you. Everyone does by the people around them growing up. And even past that point, like you still currently have expectations. Your friends expect you to act a certain way. Your family expects you to act a certain way. Your job expects you to act a certain way. But none of that is actually what you necessarily want. It might be, you might be in perfect alignment with all the people around you. You might not. And that's really what the song is saying there. It's more like what everyone else wanted from me was not what I wanted to. We're not in alignment. And that's why I was trying to breathe underwater, which is impossible. You'll drown.
Now you were mentioning...
Yeah, the little comma makes a giant difference.
It definitely does, yes. So you were mentioning about your kind of vast musical education. I had saw on social media you playing a saxophone. So what instruments do you play?
I mean, I'm definitely really focusing on the sax right now. The last show I did, I managed to play drums, sax, and keys at the same time. And I remember when I walked out, because I also made my beats live at that show too, which was really fun. I was like, I wish I could just like rip one guitar solo real quick. And like I could play guitar a little bit, but I'm not the best doing like solos and things like that. But like the thought is definitely there. I don't know. I realized, because it's the pattern recognition, really, that's why I've been playing most instruments. Once you understand theory and you understand what it's supposed to sound like, it's really just making your body physically cooperate with you. Like my biggest issue right now with playing sax is making sure that I can jump to the keys that I want to jump to make the sounds, like the melodies, move properly. Because like I'm learning the scales, I'm like, I don't know, I know all my scales, like technically, right? In my head, I know all of them, but that doesn't mean my fingers are going to cooperate with a saxophone, which I have never touched before September.
Wow, so that's a pretty new instrument for you.
Oh yeah, I love picking up random instruments. It's just it's a very low pressure way to engage with music, because like music is my special interest. It always has been, or one of them at least. And now I make music for money. I make music like that I'm writing myself for money. I teach kids how to write and produce. I do like instruments and singing with really, really young kids. But all of these things have this insane pressure on it, because if I'm not good, I won't make any money. If I just pick up a random instrument, I'm playing that for myself. And like, there's no one to be mad at me for making mistakes. Like in this today, I was teaching like kindergarten or something like that, preschool, first grade, around that age. There was one teacher that asked me, because I was going to go and I already had my lesson figured out. It was the last class. This teacher asked me, do you know any nursery rhymes? And I was not prepared to talk to this lady about what I was going to do. I was just going to do it because nobody else asked me. And like literally in that moment, like the pressure I felt of like, oh, what do I know? What do I know? I'm like not even thinking, I already know what I'm doing. And it doesn't matter what this lady is, because every single teacher basically does the same thing while I'm there. And that's go mess with their paperwork. Like they're generally not too concerned about their music class like that, which is fine. I don't really need them to be, but it's still the pressure that this lady put on me. This one little question about this thing, I don't want that to be my whole interaction with this thing that I love so much.
Makes sense. Getting back to your album, I think, one of the tracks on the album, Normal Things, one of my favorite tracks, you talk about, if it ain't for me, I'm going to exchange it. How do you decide, are there when things are for you and not? Because making decisions for us as autistic people, there's a lot of things going through our minds, a lot of questions. How do you kind of go through that process for you?
Like, does it feel good or not? That's really the whole question. And if it doesn't feel good, what am I getting out of this situation? Because if the answer is nothing, why am I doing it? Because I'm just like, I've had so many times where like my life has devolved, things that I probably were labeling like panic attacks or otherwise, were like autistic meltdowns happening. The recovery from that, even now that I'm better at managing my autistic traits, takes time. I need to sit here. I need to be like alone. I need to not talk to people. Like, otherwise I'm not going to feel any better. I can't do that like functionally, because I still have bills I have to pay. That's really the biggest thing. I still have bills I have to pay, which means I have to go do stuff. I have to make music. I sell beats on the internet. I have to make beats. If I don't make beats, I'm not going to sell any. And if I feel like garbage, I'm not going to do it. So I have to make sure that whatever I'm doing, if it's taking away from my energy, if it's like zapping my spoons away, I have to be getting something out of it. And like a lot of times people, I feel like now will talk to me in a way of like, I think I'm too good to do certain things. And it's not even necessarily that. It's just I don't have the resources, like the mental resources to do certain things. And it just kind of is what it is. And you got to know yourself well enough to realize, like, every time I do this, I feel like trash. Like, I hate an unstructured social event more than anything. I'll go with my friends to do lots of random things. But if there is just like a group of people that are going to hang out at XYZ random place and just talk to each other, like, if I don't know one person that I can like you just sit there and be in the corner with, I'm not going to go, because it's going to feel weird. It's going to be hard for me to like know what I'm supposed to look like to all these other random people that I don't really know. And like, I don't want to do that. It's going to make it too hard, and it's going to make me not want to talk for the next 2 days in a row.
Yeah, definitely. Before I knew I was autistic, like, and going to parties, I would always pretty much end up in a corner. And
Yeah.
I'd be like looking at my watch, like, was I here long enough? Can I just get out of here?
It's rough. It's rough.
Definitely. And like, like things like happy hours, I don't know what's so happy about them, but,
Discount.
Yes.
I get that. That one makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And lastly, how can our listeners learn about you and your new album and purchase it beyond this interview?
The album's available on iTunes and whatever other places you listen to music. It's up there. I just made sure it's on Audio Mac. I just added all the lyrics. I was having the hardest time for forever adding lyrics to my music because there's like one website that's in charge of putting lyrics up if your distributor doesn't do it, which mine happens to not, right? And they just like would not verify me, so I couldn't upload any lyrics, which comes to be an issue when you have a listener base with mostly like processing disorder and shit like that. Because everyone's like, I need the lyrics, I don't know what, like they want to follow what I'm saying, which I appreciate. But, like I couldn't do it. I just uploaded it for this album. I'm going to go back on the old stuff and put it up there too. But yeah, it's out everywhere. If you want to learn more about it, you could follow me on TikTok, Son the Terminator. I am as responsive as I can manage to be. So there's some days where I will manage to post like 4 times, whatever. And some days like I don't got it in me. It's really variable. But I do answer my messages and comments and things like that to the best of my ability. I was told before, as long as I am able to, I should. So I'm just gonna keep rolling with that theory. There's other stuff about this album too that I have yet to disclose too much, and I don't even know how to say it, to be honest. So like this album it's 11 tracks, right? It was originally supposed to be 14. I got the album name from TikTok, which is why I say if you want to like really go up the music anything, you got to go follow me on TikTok, because I don't update my Instagram like that. Nobody sees it. Instagram kind of sucks in that way. Where like I'll put up a story and it goes to 20 people for some reason. TikTok doesn't. It shows me way more people, so I put my energy. But like the people on TikTok actually named the album. They named it The Sunseeker. I think I gave them 2 options, and that's the one they came up with. Because like, what was the reasoning behind that one? I think it was because we kind of discussed it as a group between a bunch of different comments and videos and whatever. Because they also named themselves, like my listener base, Sunrat. So if you want to be a Sunrat, you got to go on the Discord. We got a Discord, just go on my link in bio, you know. If you are the sun, if you are light, you being the Sunseeker means you're looking for the light that's within yourself, rather, you know. And I think that's the hardest part about like unmasking. It's like once you realize like all these things are hard to do, right? What do you actually want to do? Like it's really hard for some people to figure that out. I already knew I loved music. I already did make music. That part didn't change. So I didn't feel like lost per se, but I feel like I heard back from lots of people feeling like they don't know what to do with themselves now that they know this information. And like, especially people like not every autistic person has a special interest, or like a special interest that even is like super something to engage with like that. Like there's almost infinite things I can do musically. If your special interest is, I don't even know what, like a sport that you just watch, I don't know what you would do besides just watch it, you know, like things like that I think make a large difference in terms of someone feeling fulfilled and like a whole person once they learn this about themselves and have started to subtract things because it's hurting. Oh, and then the light thing was 14 tracks, and there were supposed to be 2 halves. One half is the whole light spectrum, like everything is a metaphor for a part of the light spectrum. So this was the first 7 tracks. It was so it's radio waves, microwaves, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet, X-rays, and gamma that are parts of the actual light spectrum, right? And each one of those relates to, in order, the songs on the album. One of my favorite songs on there is like Let's Get Weird. I was so happy when I made that. I think that's when I figured out what I was doing with the whole thing, or like what sound I wanted. And that one is the visible light spectrum, which to me, the visible part that you show everybody is the toxic positivity, because you don't need to, everyone doesn't see your whole being, which is why that song is so up. But then you have the, let's see, like X-rays. Why am I making music? That's rent due, right? X-rays to see through something. That's why it's rent due, because why am I making music in this specific way? Because I need money. I would not make music as fast. I would not make as much, probably, that's fully finished. I love making stuff and then getting distracted and moving on and doing something else. Because like the really, really fun part is the beginning, the polishing up so it's perfect, and I can put it out on the internet. That's not the fun part. That's very tedious. Yeah, so those are all those parts of the light spectrum, and then I intended to do colors of visible light as the second half, but there were only 4 tracks. I was unable to make the last 3, and it took me so long to try and come up with. Well, I sat there for like an extra month or so. I'm trying to get the last 3, and it wasn't coming, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna let it be. Because I almost always have some like very in depth like metaphor thing that I'm trying to make with whatever the next project is, and it doesn't always translate. I'm not always successful. This is probably the closest I've been to being able to fully flesh out some like a very vague conceptual idea I had kind of randomly. I don't know, in the beginning of like this time last year, maybe, when I had no songs for this written. I didn't write the first song for this one until the summer, like August maybe.
TR, I really love getting to know you a little bit. Thanks so much for taking time to speak with me and being here on Autism Stories.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much to TR Sun for the conversation. To learn more about TR Sun and their new album, The Sunseeker, please check out the link in the podcast description for this episode. We always love hearing from you and would especially love to hear from you relating to this episode on if there is an instrument you've been hoping to learn to play. If so, we'd love to hear which instrument that is. Here at Autism Personal Coach, our clients are the experts, our coaches are the guides. The majority of supports for autistics are not helpful. They try to fix us, not support us. That's why many are confused when we say our clients are the experts, experts of their lived experience. Our clients are the experts for what has worked for them and about the things they need and want in their lives. Our coaches first listen to our clients and then ask thoughtful questions, offer resources, and strategize with our clients so they can get what they need to thrive. Would you want a guide in your life to coach you to help you to get the things you desire? If so, then visit autismpersonalcoach.com for more information. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Autism Stories. And if you did, if you could tell a friend, foe, or anyone you know about it so they could have the same enjoyable and educational experience as you when listening to Autism Stories, it would be very much appreciated. Until next time, I'm Doug Bletcher of Autism Personal Coach. Talk to you then.